The car smelled like old fries and vanilla air freshener, and the steering wheel was slick under her palms like she had been holding it too long. Maya's phone kept vibrating in the cup holder, rattling against a cold Starbucks cup that had melted into a watery ring. She didn't pick it up. She couldn't. Not with Ellie in the back seat whispering, "Mom, what's that room?" Like she had just stepped into a story that wasn't meant for her. The house key was still in Maya's fingers, biting into her skin. A tear slid down her cheek and dropped onto the steering wheel. She stared at the windshield like it might give her an answer. Then Ellie said it again, softer this time, like she already knew it was serious. "I opened it. The little door behind the coats. It's not a closet. It's a whole room." Maya finally looked at her phone. The screen lit up with one name. Her husband. And a message preview that made her stomach turn cold. They lived in a beige townhouse outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of place built fast and sold as cozy and low maintenance. The neighbors kept their lawns clipped and their porch lights warm. The neighborhood Facebook group argued about packages and stray cats. From the outside, Maya and Ben looked like a normal family holding it together. Two adults with jobs, one little girl with a backpack bigger than her body, a small dog that barked at the mail truck like it was saving the world. It wasn't a dramatic life. It was a quiet one. Quiet enough to hide cracks. Maya worked mornings at a physical therapy clinic and took extra hours whenever someone called off. She liked the job because it made sense. People came in hurting. They left a little stronger. There was a plan. There were steps. Healing looked like a calendar you could mark. Home didn't work like that. At home, healing was messy. It was dishes left in the sink and laundry that never ended and a husband who had started saying, "I'm just tired," like it explained everything. Ben worked in IT support for a logistics company downtown. He used to come home and drop his keys in the bowl by the door like a little ritual. Lately, he carried his keys in his pocket all evening, like he didn't want to settle. He would sit at the edge of the couch and scroll with his thumb, eyes flat, shoulders tight. When Maya asked how his day went, he answered in short lines, the way you talk to someone at a gas station. It was fine. Busy. Same stuff. He didn't look at her when he said it. Money had become a third person in their marriage. It sat at the table with them, followed them into the bedroom, hovered in the hallway when they tried to talk. Their mortgage rate had jumped when they refinanced at the wrong time. Ellie needed a new inhaler every month. The clinic kept talking about budget restrictions in meetings, which always meant someone's hours would get cut. The fridge was covered in magnets and school drawings and a sticky note that said "Pay electric by Friday" in Maya's handwriting, in all caps, like yelling at the paper would help. Maya didn't want to admit how lonely she felt because it sounded selfish. Ellie was healthy. They had a home. Nobody was sick in a way that scared you. She knew other people had it worse. But loneliness didn't ask permission. It arrived anyway, quiet and steady, like a leak you only notice after the ceiling stains. Some nights, after Ellie fell asleep, Maya would stand at the sink staring at the dark window over it. Her reflection looked older than she felt. She would think, "Is this it? Is this what we worked for?" And then she would immediately feel guilty for thinking it. Ellie was 7 and full of questions, the kind of kid who narrated her own thoughts out loud. She noticed everything. She noticed Maya's forced smile when she said, "We're okay, honey." She noticed Ben's silence. She noticed the way their dog Pepper followed Maya more than anyone else, like Pepper had chosen a side. Ellie didn't have the words for adult problems, but she could sense the tension like a change in weather. On a Wednesday in late October, the school sent home a flyer about a family heritage project. Ellie had to bring in a few photos and a story about where you come from. Maya read the instructions 3 times, feeling something tight in her chest. Their photo boxes were scattered. Some were in the attic. Some were in a closet. Some were Wherever Ben had put them when they moved in, when he was still the kind of man who labeled everything. That night, Maya mentioned it while they ate reheated pasta at the kitchen island. Ellie sat swinging her feet, humming to herself. Ben nodded without looking up from his phone. Yeah, we have photos. Somewhere, he said. Can you help me find them? Maya asked. She kept her voice calm, like it was a small question. Ben's thumb paused. He looked up finally, but his eyes didn't land on hers. I've got a lot going on right now. Maya felt heat rise in her face. So do I, she said, then immediately regretted the sharpness. Ellie looked between them like she was watching a tennis match. Ben exhaled through his nose. I said I'd do it later. When is later? Maya asked, softer now, because she was trying not to break in front of their kid. Because Ellie's project is due Monday. Ben pushed his plate away like the conversation had made him lose his appetite. I don't know, Maya. Stop making everything a thing. That sentence hit her harder than it should have. Because she had spent months shrinking her needs, rounding down her feelings, trying to be easy to live with. She had turned herself into a quiet person in her own home. And still, it was making everything a thing. After Ellie went to brush her teeth, Maya stood in the hallway and listened to the faucet run, listened to her daughter humming some little tune under her breath. Maya thought about her own childhood, about how she could remember the mood of a room more clearly than any single argument. She didn't want Ellie to grow up remembering this house as a place where adults swallowed words until they tasted bitter. So on Saturday morning, while Ben slept late, Maya started searching. She pulled out bins from the hall closet, the one by the front door. Coats slid off hangers. A scarf fell to the floor. Pepper barked once, then settled into her spot like she was supervising. Maya found old board games and a half-used pack of batteries and a stack of mail they never opened. No photo albums. Ellie wandered over in mismatched socks, hair wild, carrying her tablet. Can I help? She asked, bright and eager like she still believed everything was a team effort. Sure, Maya said, forcing a smile. But don't make a mess, okay? Ellie nodded seriously, then crouched down and started peeking behind the coats like it was a game. Maya was reaching into the back corner of the closet when Ellie's voice changed. It got smaller. Mom. What, honey? There's a door, Ellie said. Like, a teeny door. 20 coats. Maya froze. She stared at the wall she had never really looked at. Behind a line of winter jackets, there was a narrow panel, painted the same off-white as everything else, with a small knob low enough for a child's hand. It didn't look new. It looked like it had always been there. And somehow, she had never noticed it. Ellie reached out before Maya could stop her. The knob turned with a soft click that sounded too loud in the quiet house. The panel swung open a few inches, and a breath of air came out, stale and cool, carrying a faint smell of cardboard and dust and something else, something like old cologne. Maya. Ben's voice came from upstairs. Sick we sleep. He sounded annoyed, like their noise had invaded his morning. Ellie looked back at Maya with wide eyes, the kind kids get when they know they found something they weren't supposed to. It's not a closet, she whispered. It's a room. Maya's heart started beating fast, not because of fear in some dramatic way, but because of a sudden sharp understanding that secrets don't always arrive with sirens. Sometimes they sit quietly behind coats, waiting for a small hand to turn a knob. Before Maya could answer, Ellie pushed the door a little wider, and the darkness inside moved as the light from the hallway cut into it. Maya saw the edge of a folding chair, a plastic storage bin, and something hanging on the wall that made her throat close up. Something personal. Something that didn't belong in a hidden room. Her phone buzzed again on the kitchen counter, and she knew, before she even looked, that it was Ben. Maya closed the small door gently, like the room might hear her. Ella stood frozen, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Did I do something bad? She asked, already shrinking into herself the way kids do when they feel adult tension without understanding it. No, Maya said quickly, kneeling down so they were face to face. Her voice shook, but she kept it steady enough for Ellie. You didn't do anything wrong. You just found something. Ben came downstairs rubbing his face, phone in his hand. He stopped halfway when he saw Maya on the floor and the coats pushed aside. His eyes flicked to the door, then back to Maya. The color drained from his face in a way that told her everything before he spoke. Why is that open? He said. Not angry. Not loud. Just flat. Ellie looked between them again.
Maya stood up slowly.
I didn't know it was there, she said. Did you? Ben swallowed. His jaw tightened. He looked at Ellie. Go get Pepper, he said. And maybe your shoes. We're going to Grandma's later. Ellie hesitated. Kids always do when they sense a storm. Then she nodded and padded off, Pepper's nails clicking after her. The house felt different with Ellie gone from the room. Smaller. Like the walls had leaned in. Maya crossed her arms, more to hold herself together than anything else. What is that room? She asked. Ben exhaled slowly and rubbed the back of his neck. It's nothing, he said too fast.
Maya laughed once, short and sharp. Nothing is not hidden behind the secret door.
He looked at the floor. For a long second, neither of them spoke. Then Ben reached out and opened the door fully. The room was narrow, unfinished, the kind of space builders leave behind and homeowners forget. There was a folding chair, a small desk, a cheap lamp plugged into an extension cord. Stacked bins held papers, old electronics, cords. On the wall were photos. Not family photos. Photos of a woman Maya recognized instantly, even though she had only seen her once, years ago, at a work holiday party.
Ben's coworker.
The one he said he barely talked to. There were printed emails pinned up, handwritten notes, a notebook filled with messy writing. Not romantic, exactly. More like frantic.
Lonely.
Maya felt like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. What is this? She asked again, softer now. Ben sat down on the folding chair like his legs had given up. I didn't cheat, he said quickly, like he had rehearsed that line. Not physically. I swear. Maya closed her eyes. She believed him. And somehow, that made it hurt more. So what did you do? She asked. He stared at his hands. I didn't know how to talk to you anymore, he said. Every time I tried, I felt like I was failing. As a husband. As a provider. Everywhere I looked, I saw what I couldn't fix.
Maya said nothing.
Her chest felt tight, but she forced herself to listen. She listened. Ben continued. At work. She asked how I was doing. It wasn't even about her at first. It was just someone noticing me.
Maya leaned against the wall.
The paint was cool through her sweater. So you built a room to notice her, she said quietly. Ben flinched. I built a room to hide, he said. From you. From Ellie. From myself. That sentence landed heavy. Because Maya knew that feeling. The wanting to disappear without actually leaving. The fantasy of a space where nobody needed anything from you. I never meant for Ellie to see it, he said. I was going to take it apart. I swear. When? Maya asked. He didn't answer.
A knock came from the front door.
Maya jumped, heart racing. Ben looked confused. Who's that? Maya checked her phone. A text from Mrs. Alvarez next door lit up the screen. Thought you might want these. I found Ellie's jacket in my garage. Maya opened the door to Mrs. Alvarez, who stood there holding a pink jacket and wearing her usual kind smile. Everything okay? She asked, eyes flicking past Maya like neighbors do when they sense something off. Yes, Maya said automatically. Then she surprised herself by adding, "No, not really." Mrs. Alvarez nodded slowly, like that was an acceptable answer. "I can keep Ellie with me for a bit if you need," she said. "She likes helping me water plants." Maya felt tears sting her eyes.
Not from the room.
From the offer. From the fact that someone noticed and didn't look away. "Thank you," she said. "That would help." After the door closed, Maya sat on the couch and stared at the blank TV screen. Ben stood awkwardly near the stairs, like he didn't know where he belonged. "I don't know what to do," he said. Maya nodded. "Neither do I." They sat there in silence until Maya spoke again. "But we can't pretend this didn't happen," she said. "We can't shove it behind coats and hope it stays hidden." Ben nodded slowly. "I know." That afternoon, Maya took a walk around the block, phone in her pocket, heart heavy. She ended up at the small coffee shop near the elementary school, the one with uneven tables and a chalkboard sign that always misspelled something. She ordered a coffee she didn't really want and sat by the window. A woman about her age sat down at the next table, phone pressed to her ear, whispering, "I just don't know how to tell him." She sounded exhausted. Maya stared into her cup and realized something uncomfortable. Pain wasn't unique.
Secrets wären terer.
Everyone was carrying something, some hidden room in their life, hoping it wouldn't be found.
When Maya walked back home, the house felt quieter.
The door to the small room was still open. Sunlight reached inside now, touching the edges of things that had lived in the dark. Maya stood there and understood that the hardest part wasn't anger. It was deciding whether she was willing to stay present through the discomfort, instead of building her own hidden space somewhere else. That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling fan as it clicked unevenly, one loose screw making a soft ticking sound that she had never noticed before and now could not ignore. Ben lay beside her, turned away, a careful distance between them that felt wider than the bed itself. The house was quiet in the way that only happens when a child is asleep and the adults are pretending rest is possible. Maya's mind kept replaying the room in pieces, the folding chair, the photos on the wall, the notebook with pages filled front and back like someone afraid of silence. What hurt most wasn't jealousy. It was the realization that Ben had built a whole private life inside their shared one, and she hadn't felt it until it brushed against their daughter. She thought about Ellie's face when she asked if she had done something bad. That was the moment that stuck. Adults could hurt each other and survive it. Kids absorbed things quietly and carried them longer. Maya rolled onto her side and whispered Ben's name. He didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice sounded tired and raw. "I'm awake. I keep thinking about why you didn't tell me," Maya said. "Not about her. About you." Ben swallowed. "Because I didn't want to add one more thing you had to worry about."
Maya almost laughed.
"You didn't think I was already worried?" He was quiet. Then, "I didn't want to be another problem." That sentence cracked something open. Maya realized how long both of them had been trying to protect the other by staying silent, like quiet was kindness. "I needed to know you were struggling," she said. "Even if I couldn't fix it." Ben turned toward her. His eyes were wet, and he didn't bother wiping them. "I didn't feel like I was allowed to struggle," he said.
You were holding everything together.
"Ellie, work, bills. You looked so capable." Maya closed her eyes. Capability had become a cage. "I was scared too," she said. "I just didn't know how to say it without everything falling apart." The next morning, Maya took Ellie to school like normal. They talked about spelling tests and lunch options and whether Pepper missed them during the day. But when Maya hugged her goodbye, she held on a second longer. Ellie noticed. "Are you sad?" she asked softly. Maya smiled, the kind of smile that told the truth without telling everything. "I'm okay," she said.
I just love you."
At work, Maya found herself distracted, hands moving through familiar motions while her thoughts drifted. She watched patients relearn how to trust their bodies, how to stand without fear, how to take small steps again. Healing wasn't fast. It was awkward. Sometimes it hurt. But it happened because someone stayed. During her lunch break, Maya sat in her car and finally listened to the voicemail she had ignored the night before. It wasn't from Ben. It was from her mom, left days earlier. "I was thinking about you," her mom said. "You don't have to be strong all the time." Maya pressed her forehead against the steering wheel and cried quietly, the way adults do when they don't have time for anything louder. That evening, Ben suggested they talk after Ellie went to bed. Not later. Not sometime. After. The difference mattered. They sat at the kitchen table with mugs of tea that went untouched. The small door down the hall felt like it was listening. "I don't want to be this person," Ben said.
I don't want secrets.
"Then we can't avoid the ugly parts," Maya said.
We can't smooth everything over.
Ben nodded. "I ended things," he said. "With her. Completely. I told her I needed help, not escape." Maya believed him. But belief didn't erase damage. "That doesn't make this go away," she said. "I know," he said. "I just want to be honest from here." The breaking point came later that night, when Maya stood in the hallway staring at the small door. Ben hovered behind her, unsure. "I need to see it," she said. Inside the room, Maya sat on the folding chair and picked up the notebook. She didn't read every page. She didn't need to. The words weren't romantic fantasies. They were fears. Fears of being replaced. Of being unnecessary. Of failing at a life he thought he was supposed to have figured out by now. Maya felt something unexpected rise up alongside the hurt. Recognition. She had her own unspoken thoughts that lived in the dark. She looked at Ben. "We both disappeared," she said.
Just in different ways.
Ben nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. "We need help," Maya said. Saying it out loud felt heavy but also steady. Real help. Not pretending we can think our way out of this. Ben agreed immediately, like he had been waiting for permission. They decided the room couldn't stay. Not hidden. Not sealed. But they didn't tear it down that night. They closed the door together. Later, Maya lay awake again, but the ceiling fan didn't bother her as much. She thought about how close they had come to something breaking beyond repair, and how strange it was that a child's curiosity had forced the truth into the light. Change felt terrifying. Staying the same felt worse. The first therapy appointment was on a Tuesday evening, squeezed between Ellie's homework and bedtime. Maya almost canceled twice. Not because she didn't believe in it, but because hope felt risky. Hope meant showing up. It meant admitting the problem didn't end just because it had been named. The therapist's office was in a renovated strip mall next to a nail salon and a frozen yogurt place. The sign outside was slightly crooked. Inside, the chairs didn't match. The room smelled faintly of coffee and cleaning spray. It was ordinary in a way that made Maya feel less exposed. They didn't have a breakthrough that night. Nobody cried dramatically. Nobody said the perfect sentence that fixed everything. They talked about pressure and silence and how easy it was to confuse responsibility with love. They talked about how men were taught to measure their worth by stability and how women were taught to stretch until they disappeared. They left with homework that felt both small and overwhelming. At home, life didn't pause for healing. Ellie still needed help with math. The dog still needed walks. Bills still arrived on time. Some days, Maya and Ben moved around each other carefully, like people sharing a space after a storm, checking for damage. Other days, they laughed at something dumb on TV and felt almost normal, then froze, like laughing meant forgetting. The small door stayed closed for a while. Not locked. Just acknowledged. One Saturday morning, Ellie asked about it again. Is that room broken? She said, chewing cereal slowly. Maya knelt beside her chair. It was a room where grown-ups kept feelings they didn't know how to talk about, she said.
We're learning to talk now.
Ellie considered this. Are feelings supposed to have rooms? She asked. Maya smiled, a real one this time. They're not supposed to be hidden, she said. A few weeks later, they cleaned it out together. Ben took down the photos. Maya packed the papers into a box they would bring to therapy, not to relive, but to understand. They didn't throw anything away in anger. They just let the room become what it always should have been. A space. Nothing more. Ellie helped too, mostly by asking questions and handing over tape. When they were done, the room was empty. Light filled it easily now. What should it be? Ellie asked. Maya looked at Ben.
Ejesetati, tenstrakt.
What do you want it to be? He asked Ellie. Ellie grinned.
A reading nook.
With a bean bag. So that's what it became. Not a symbol. Not a statement. Just a place to sit and read and be together sometimes. The marriage didn't turn perfect. Some nights, Maya still felt the old ache, the fear that closeness was temporary. Some mornings, Ben woke up heavy with anxiety that didn't have a clear reason. But now, those things had names. They had places to go that weren't hidden. One evening, months later, Maya sat in her car outside the same coffee shop where she had once watched strangers carry their own quiet pain. This time, she wasn't running. She was waiting for Ellie, who was inside with Ben picking up hot chocolate after a school event. Maya checked her phone and saw a message from a coworker asking if she wanted to apply for a lead position opening soon. Maya stared at it longer than necessary. The old instinct was there, to say no, to stay safe, to stay small. She typed back, yes. I'm interested. It felt like a small win. But it was hers. That night, after Ellie fell asleep in the beanbag with a book still open on her chest, Maya and Ben sat on the floor of the living room.
No TV.
No phones. Just quiet. I still get scared, Ben said. So do I, Maya said. They didn't promise forever.
They promised honesty.
They promised to speak before silence turned into distance. Later, Maya stood in the hallway and looked at the small door one last time before turning off the lights.
It wasn't a secret anymore.
It was just a door. She thought about how close they had come to losing each other not through betrayal alone, but through loneliness left unattended. She thought about how resilience wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was showing up again and again, even when you didn't feel ready. As she crawled into bed, she felt tired in a way that made sense. Not the kind of tired that meant giving up. The kind that meant work had been done.
Somewhere between hate and healing, Maya learned this.
Families don't fall apart all at once. And they don't fix themselves all at once either. But when you stop hiding, when you let the light in, even the smallest room can change everything.